it's Sam, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite and least favorite non-bookish ships of 2017. So if you follow my booktube channel, you guys saw my favorite and least favorite couples of 2017 for books, and it was just a meh shipping year. But I mentioned that my shipping year overall wasn't bad, and that I just had a lot of focus on other media. So here we go. I actually am mostly focusing on the ships that I liked this year, because if I don't like something in other media especially, I just don't focus on it, because typically speaking, like, it isn't really revolving around that, or books are a little bit different, it's more of a focus. Anyway, with the things that I watch, like, I can avoid it if I want to. But these are the things, for the most part, that I just would dive head first into that fandom as soon as I experienced it, so. I will mention a couple that I was just like neutral on, and I am working my way up to like level of chest clenching, so you know. And I didn't mention this in my bookish video because I mentioned it before in past videos, but this is a video on ships. If you don't want spoilers for said ships and you're nervous, don't watch this video. That should just be a given. So the first ship is a ship that I don't like, and that is Mike and Eleven from Stranger Things. Now, I mentioned this more in detail in my Stranger Things Get Ready With Me, so I will link that on the screen for you guys to check out, but I do not like ships with little kids in them. These kids are like 11 and 12. I do not like that the media, because of them being depicted as more romantic than the other like kid ships on the show, that they depict them slightly more sexually in media, and like those actors are more sexualized, and I just think it's a problem, so I don't like it. It gives me icky feelings. If they had it played as very innocent, then it'd be fine, but they depict them on the show as actually being in love, and I'm like, please stop. And for the most part, I'm mentioning canon or canon-leaning ships, things that are like either like big juggernauts or canon-leaning or whatever. I know that there's a lot of distinction there, so I'm not mentioning some other ships, but I also have a problem with some of the other Stranger Things ships, like, I don't know, Steve and Billy. But that's not even close to canon, so I'm not going to worry about mentioning that. But that would be below Mike and Eleven. And then we have a ship that I'm just meh on, and that is Diana and Steve, Wonder Woman, and Steve from Wonder Woman. I don't watch a ton of movies. I think I only saw 2 movies in theaters, and this was one of them, so I wanted to mention it. But I just don't really ship them. Like, he wasn't around enough. I think the romance was a little too quick. I would have liked more of a slow burn thing. I'm a big fan of, like, Peggy and Steve from the Captain America franchise, and I think they did that romance in one movie really well. And so anything pales in comparison to that, but also like you have to live up to that standard, and this just really didn't for me. So I didn't watch that for the romance though, so I wasn't really bothered by it, but it's just one that I remember watching and was like, meh. Then we have Jal and Sarah from the failure that was Mass Effect Andromeda. I actually forgot about them until I was done filming this video, and I was like, wait, Mass Effect Andromeda came out in 2017. Ugh. So Jal and Sarah was the couple that I played for my Pathfinder for my Sarah, and I liked them when I was playing them, and I liked that Jal is a sweet bean, but I haven't thought about them since like finishing the game. Like I revlogged some stuff for like a week after the game, maybe not even a few days probably, and I revlogged some stuff from them, but overall I found their relationship like too sickly sweet. Like I liked when he was a little bit of both, because as I've mentioned before, and I'll mention that later on in the video, that I like when the guys are like, you know, like tough, not jerks, but like more like the tough guys, the soldiers, whatever, and then they get like sweet and like emotional when with their lady. And he was just like turned into too much, too sickly sweet, and I just didn't like that. I just couldn't get behind it. But I liked him when I was playing it, and I was like, I pursued that ship because I thought it was the best of all of them, although I almost went with Vetra. So she would probably be like right under this, honestly, but like I didn't get to actually see the romance, so I can't really say. I also really liked the guy, Reyes or whatever, so I feel like they could, but like I didn't play any of those, so I really feel like I couldn't talk about any of those, where all these other ships that I've like, with the video games I'm going to mention I've played, so I didn't want to mention it, you know, my rules. But they had such potential, and that potential just didn't really get revealed. Do you ever get nostalgic for things that didn't happen? Because I get nostalgic for the Mass Effect Andromeda that could have been all the time. Now, for the most part, a lot of these are all going to be from like the same franchise, same form of media, whatever, so you'll see a lot of like repeats from the same fandom, just as a heads up. So another one that I'm just kind of mad on is from Game of Thrones, and this is one that I was kind kind of liking when it was happening. I remember being like, I'm okay with it. It is definitely the more canon of the Game of Thrones ones I'm going to discuss, and that is Jon and Daenerys. Now, before I even get any comments about it, all of these ships with Jon are incestuous in some way to certain degrees or whatever. So this is the show's problem and not the fandom's problem, because the show is depicting on like this is romantic. So let's not get into that. I didn't do this. The show did. These two, like, I like their aesthetic looks. I actually kind of shipped them before the show, and but just like the fire and ice thing or whatever, and then you like discover the actual, like, you know, family dynamics, and it's kind of just like, God, but whatever. I mean, I don't care. It's the Game of Thrones world, so it doesn't bother me because they've already set a precedent for this from the beginning of the show, but it's just not something that I think about after. Like, I was fine, I reblogged some stuff for it after when it was airing, but I'm just like not super invested in it, and it's not something I ever think about now that the show's not on. I'll probably get reinvested in it at least a little bit when the show comes back, but we have a while. Then we have one that's kind of an always happening one, kind of in the background thing, and this just kind of got re-sparked and reignited because of like Justice League, which I didn't see, and like Wonder Woman, and that is Wonder Bat. So it's Wonder Woman and Batman from the DC universe, and I just really like them. They started with like the animated series and stuff, and there's like just inklings, and I just really like that dynamic, and him being all dark and broody and her being all like lawful and good and wonderful, and just like that whole thing, and their like flirtations and all this stuff. I know some people don't like Ben Affleck in those movies and stuff. I have never seen him play Batman because I haven't watched the movies that he's in, but I just like Batman and Wonder Woman together, and it's something that I was seeing more of because of the DC movies that came out this year. Then dipping into Star Wars, we have Storm Pilot, and this is not because I don't love them, because I do. But with 2017 having The Last Jedi and there not being a ton of Storm Pilot new goodies in there was a little bit like, oh my gosh, Finn is soaking wet, I have to run to him. You know, like that kind of stuff. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot of focus on them. They weren't together a ton, and it wasn't as like ripe for the picking as it was in The Force Awakens. So I still love them, and I still was reblogging the things about them, but The Last Jedi was not a Storm Pilot heavy movie, unfortunately. Then we have another Stranger Things ship, and that is Joyce and Hopper, who I love and adore. They just don't make me like as much because they only are having like slight inklings, and I just find them a more like stable, mature ship. I think season 3 is gonna be the like, oh my god, it's happening. I think that's gonna be the thing, but there wasn't like a ton of it. They had some, you know, shared cigarettes and, you know, some like really romantic times like that, but I just love like the foundation they've built for them, and I really ship them a lot, but it's just like not as intense as some of the other ships are on this list. I love them OTP. And then we have one for DC that's kind of a holdover from like the Suicide Squad stuff, because it's a very specific aesthetic that I love the most for them, although I ship them in general. But that's Harley and Ivy, so Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy from the DC universe, who are my canon loves and just mean a lot to me. But I think about them a lot as like a Suicide Squad version of Harley and a Suicide Squad type version aesthetic with Ivy together. It gives me heart palpitations. But it's not something I see a lot, and it's not something, you know, we haven't had them on the big screen together, we haven't had any of that, so there's really nothing there, but it was just something that I would seek out. I would like search through the Harley and Ivy tag on Tumblr to try to find more stuff about them. I have songs where I do think about them, and they're all like dark and twisty and lovely, but not as dark as twisty as like some of the other DC ships, but like, I love them. They are some of my favorite girlfriends. Then let's start dipping our toes in the BioWare stuff, shall we? Because that's going to take up the majority of this video. We have Solus and the Inquisitor. Now I know that Solus with the Inquisitor is one of like the main ships in the series, and I have another one for Inquisition coming up, so don't you worry. But this is one that I played after in my second playthrough, so I really do ship Solus with my elf battle mage, and I like love that, but it's not as much as I ship some of the other like ships in the franchise and stuff. But I like especially the post-Trespasser stuff. So I liked it enough, like there was cute moments and whatever, like, but the angst post-game and in Trespasser just like, oh damn. And then that's when Solus is looking less like a bum and just like beautiful. So that hurts. And then just knowing like that they're like, I'm already excited that their like angst is going to continue into the next game even though you're not going to follow her, obviously you're not going to follow the Inquisitor, but like that's going to be a thing at least, like it has to be. And like a lot of the art for them is so angsty. There's a really beautiful art piece that I'm sure like everyone has seen if you ship them, and it's Solus and the Inquisitor, and they're like, I think he's stabbing her through the back, but he's also piercing his own heart. It's so good. It's so good. Like the art is so angsty. And there's another really good one where like she goes bad and like they're dressed as they would like they're rebels or whatever. He has his hair, he has like skulls in his hair, and so does she, and they're like all dark elves, and it's just like, oh my god. So I love the fandom and the art side of it, but I didn't love them as much in game, but like post game and the fandom side is just like real good. Then we have Kelly and Yorkie, who are one of my most pure ships on here. They are from the San Junipero episode of Black Mirror, and that episode wrecked me. And then after, like, thankfully everyone was reblogging stuff about it, so I got to reblog all the things about it. But they are some of my other favorite girlfriends. They're just so pure and so 80s, and just like they're like tension and how sad it is, and you have like bisexual rep in there, and like it's just and you weren't sure because it's Black Mirror if they were gonna get together, because everyone in Black Mirror like has a horrible demise, and it's just like really good. And I still see stuff with them, especially when like Yorkie's putting her hand on like Kelly's thigh, and I'm just like, deceased. And then when they like when they're like old women, and just it kills me. Okay, now we're getting into the things. You notice that I started getting like more hype, so these are all the things that I'm really loving. So back to Game of Thrones, we have Jon and Sansa. I liked their angst and their like tension more than I liked the Jon and Dany stuff. I know a lot of people don't ship it because they're like, oh, they're more like siblings, so they grew up together and whatever. I get it. I mean, it's all bad. Like let's not like, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Like let's not get picky here. But I just liked their tension a lot. Like when they were fighting, there's a lot of like cinematography and the way that they dress that's very similar to the Stark parents and stuff, and I really like just like that dynamic and their fieriness, and just like, yeah, I think they have really good chemistry. I don't think the show is ever going to go there with them because they're just pushing Jon and Dany so hard, but especially season 6, as I watched season 6 in 2017, I was catching up in 2017, so especially season 6, Sansa is good, high quality. Continuing on the Game of Thrones front, we have Brienne and Tormund. I scream when like I see them, and like they are like my like wonderful cute ship, but also like I just love it. I just love how he stares at her. I love the whole speech from season 7 where he was like, you do know her, and he wants to make like monster babies with her, and it's just I love them. And I know that right now she's not into it. She might never be into it, and that's okay as long as he doesn't like force. It's fine. He can't be dead. Neither of them can die because they have to realize that they need to be together. I love them. Then back to Stranger Things, we have Nancy and Jonathan. This is mostly from season 1, but it helped in season 2 as well. But I was really feeling them after season 1 completely. And there was people in the fandom that were doing a fan cast of them older and like reconnecting, and there's a lot of gift sets around it, and it had him being played by Norman Reedus and her being played by the girl from Shameless, Emmy something, I forget what her name is. Oh, I was dead, and that was like the best. I was just soaking in that because it was like, it was so beautiful and so angsty. It was like they never got together, and like, but then they rekindled, and like, whew, it was good. And I feel like that fan cast was excellent because both those actors looked like the younger actors, and it was real good. So I liked that, and I also liked a lot of the stuff in season 2, let me tell you. But as I mentioned in my Stranger Things Get Ready With Me that you should go and watch, I really started loving Steve in this season. So now I almost ship them in like an OT3 way. But that wasn't a thing before, and the dominating part of my Stranger Things love and ships was Jonathan and Nancy in season 1, drowning in the gift sets. Then back to BioWare, but this time for Mass Effect, we have Liara and Shepard. more girlfriends who I love so much. Never been able to do a whole playthrough with Liara as my love interest because of other characters that happen to like dominate my heart. But I just love them as space wives, and I still like, I reblog stuff from like the third game, even though I never played all the way through with them. I love seeing the art, I love seeing everything. I love them a lot, and they make me very emotional. Liara loves Shepard so much. Liara loves Shepard the way that I love Shepard, which means she loves her a lot. And that means a lot to me. Like, a lot of the stuff, especially from the third game, is just so like, I wrote your name in the stars and just, So I really like them a ton. Okay, here's another dominating ship that's been happening for years. And it's just one that I fall back on. Like, if I'm like, man, I want to just get sucked into a fandom, what should I do? And I'm like, oh, right. Winter Widow. That is the Winter Soldier and Black Widow. They are canon in the comics, or they were. They've actually broken up in the comics, but they are canon in the comics, and they're like a real thing, and they're not just made up like, you know, the Hulk and Black Widow. And they're lovely. The whole thing is like that they knew each other back in the like Red Room and stuff, and that they like trained together, you know, in the times that he was out of like lockdown or whatever, and that they have a history. And it speaks to me, my great Soviet trash kids. I just love them, and people are doing like gift sets combining them in the like MCU and stuff, and there's even hints in the MCU, and I don't know if they're gonna go there, but I would really love them to. But I think in general, the general public that's not gonna know that they have a history is gonna be like, oh, they keep forcing her with people she's not supposed to be with, and I'm like, they're supposed to be together. And Sebastian Stan is on board, which has me very happy because he's a good man, and he understands, and he knows things, and he knows what the right thing is. But yeah, I just love them, and they are my like dominating Marvel ship, to be honest. All right, top 4, most of them being from BioWare. So number 4 is Fenris and Female Hawk, because I play Female Hawk from Dragon Age. Man, are they an angst factory. So all of the Dragon Age ships I have talked about in a Dragon Age Get Ready With Me, which I will link on the screen. That's when I talk about a lot of my stuff, my media stuff is in Get Ready With Me. So I mentioned them in there. But I love Fenris for being a grumpy elf man, because that just really speaks to me, and they have a very tortured romance, and I love it. But and then like at the end when he's like, nothing can part me from you, I'm like, I love his voice, I love his voice acting, I love he is just an angst, just bean. He's a bean of angst, and I love him. And I love her because she's sassy and snarky, because I play a sarcastic hawk, because if you don't, you're wrong. And then when she comes back in Inquisition and she mentions him, and it's just, stop. So I love them a lot, and that's another one, like, if I'm like, ooh, like basically, if I'm ever feeling like I want to just dive into something that I love, I will do any of these, like, top 5 ships. Like, these are the ones that I'm like, okay, I want to cry about something or get, like, really emotional. I'll be like, time to search this tag on Tumblr, and then I'll be in it all night. So number 3, because they came back around at the end of the year, is Raylo. So I'm not going to get into it. I live in fear that the people of the trash bins will come out and try to attack me for loving this ship, because it's a very, like, the discourse is very strong right now, and it's just a lot. And I curate my corner of the internet to be like, not, like, I don't care if you don't like it. Don't talk to me about it. Then go talk to other people that don't like it, and talk about your ships with people. Like, I'm here to talk about stuff that I like, and I love it. Okay, so let me tell you about how I was in the theater, like, shaking because of all of the canonness of the Raylo now, and how all the, like, producers and stuff have said, like, this is intentional, and their connection, the force bond, hand-holding, oh my god! And just, like, the talking through the force bond just speaks to me, because they're like a space Darkling and Alina. It just, they are space Darklina, and I die. I'm dead. And she calls him Ben. And it's just, it's so wonderful. And the fight scene, okay, so the fight scene, I actually, my soul left my body and just, like, rotated around in space for a while, like, ooh, party! And then I came back down and I was fine. But, like, back-to-back fight scene. Do you ever cry? Because that was, like, that's a thing that I really love. But I'm really glad that she ultimately wasn't the one to bring him back over to like the good side, because that wouldn't work. Like they both have to embrace their gray Jedi-ness, and that like they can't convince the other one because that would just cause problems later. They are so endgame that it hurts me. But again, the art there has been great. I don't love the lovey-dovey art with them. I know some people are really into like making it all like nice and cute. No, I want the angsty shit, man. I want the like the pain and the going through hell and the redemption arc of like pain and just like, yes, not just like, oh, we're fine and we're happy and we're picking fun. No, I want all of the rough stuff, you know, like no, I want all of the pain and the angst and the fighting and the like going through hell to get to a good place, because that's what it's gonna take stuff. And just the angstiness is so good. Oh, it's so good. What a great way to end the year. And then my top two are, of course, BioWare ships, because they're my forever ships. Forever. Number two is Cullen and the Inquisitor, because, oh man, was I super invested. That was my first romance. He was with my dual-wielding human, and oh man, my dual-wielding rogue, and she's beautiful, and she's like my canon playthrough, basically. I love my battle mage, but like, she is my canon playthrough. And I did die. Like, I actually, like, I kick my feet when I'm playing and like certain like scenes happen, because he's so sweet. I love, as with the first one, which you guys are probably gonna know what it is because it's what I talk about all the time, but I love the ships where the dude is like all like tough guy, you know, whatever, but not like a jerk, but like just like he's business, he's like a soldier or whatever, and then he like meets the girl and he just like turns into a puddle of just jello, because that is what he does. Like when she first started flirting with him and he like, she smiles at him and he like can't swallow. I love it. Like he gets so like, I don't know what to, and he's such a nerd and he gets all flustered and just like, and then when they like finally like gets to kiss her or whatever and they get interrupted and he like basically yells at the guy, he's like, we're busy, and he's so sweet. It hurts me. He's like a little golden retriever. He's so pure. I love him. I love him. I love whenever the dudes with the flirting just get all like messed up. I love him so much. He's so pretty. I'm in love with an animation, but he's so pretty, and his like his Templar armor. Like I don't even like Templars. His armor and like he's so pure. And in the Trespasser DLC, he gets that dog, which is the most pure thing I've ever seen. It's like, look at him with this little puppy. Of course he does. And I don't love in the DLC that you can technically get married, because I think the whole marriage thing when like no one's there is just like weird, and I just don't like it. But overall, like I just was always in Cullen and Inquisitor hell, like searching through the tags and just like in love, because I just love them. He's so pure and he's so sweet, and it just is like, again, that like tough guy who fumbles and gets all like nervous when flirting is just a thing that I really love, and is also present in the number one ship. You guys have to know that my number one for 2017 for all time is Garrus and Shepard from Mass Effect. Whenever I want to be in emotional upheaval and pain and just feelings of joy, sadness, I mean anything really, I will go in the Garrus and Shepard tag. They are my loves, my light, and they have the same trope where Garrus is a incredible fighter and he's a sniper and he's serious and he's snarky and he's all these things and he's very committed to like his duty and all this stuff. But then he like, she flirts with him and he gets like flustered. Like the voice actor for him, him and Cullen both have like really good voice actors. Really, a lot of these video game characters, I really like the voice actors, so that helps. But it's just like when he's like, I don't like, he doesn't know what to do, and he's like, I'll have to do research to see how this is gonna work. It's just like, you guys are so cute, and they have this like best friend bond, which speaks to me. Like they've been together for so long, just as like friends and like fighting the big fight and just doing all the things. It's just like, you're so pure, and they just understand each other and they just like love each other, and I can't get over the Mass Effect 3 ending when they're like being separated, because you get separated from your love interest regardless in Mass Effect, or you get separated from everybody, and like the I can't. Like, it's really, man. And the dancing in the DLC for the Citadel DLC, and like, just all this, he's such a nerd for her, and they just love each other so much, and they're a really good team. That's what I love the most about like these top ships, is they're like really good teams. And like, it just hurts me. Like, it just, I love them, and I know I talk about them all the time, so I don't really feel like I have anything new to say because I talk about them so often, but I spiral with them frequently. I frequently go in the tags. They are going to be a ship forever. They're going to come up, if I do this like for multiple years, they'll come up in other years, depending on if I did a playthrough that year or whatever, and like replayed it, and just, yeah, but I just loved them. They're my forever love and light, and like top, just the reigning OTP. So that is it for mostly my favorite and a couple least favorite ships of 2017 that were non-bookish. So comment down below, let me know some other media things that you were into this year. Did that get you through 2017 a little bit more than the books did? Because that's kind of how it was for me. I had some solid ships in here that without them, my shipper heart would have just shriveled up and died. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all you guys soon. Bye!